Hey everybody, it's Kelly Yale from Intent Marketing, and I am so excited that I get to speak to one of my real life friends. So we met a few years ago, obviously in the mortgage tech space, but I consider Alex to really be a genuine good friend of mine.
Thank you.
And I thought we would do something different today, Alex. I thought we would introduce each other. So I'm going to introduce you.
Wow, I like it. Okay. All right, I'm in.
Something new, something different, because
Yeah, I
everybody's
like it.
doing videos. Okay, so this is Alex. I would love to tell you what his last name is and how to pronounce it, but I'm going to let him do that for me. Go ahead.
Kutsishin.
Actually, I should know how to do that, but it's so much easier just to say Alex from Sales Boomerang.
That's it. Alex from Sales Boomerang. That is what I think I'm going to legally change it to that, by the way.
You should. From
Yeah.
This is Alex from Sales Boomerang, and he has been with Sales Boomerang, I would say, for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so good.
You are.
And Sales Boomerang, if you're not familiar with it, is probably beside our own, my favorite mortgage tech platform. What I love about it is that some people are really forward thinking, and that's what Sales Boomerang really does. They look at every single lead and all the opportunities that lead will ever have in their career. So everything that can ever happen with your customer is always monitored, so you can find opportunities forever. Is that a good way to explain what you do?
Yeah, that's yes. I mean, it's it's an intelligence platform that tells lenders when somebody's ready for a loan.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Or a refinance. But a loan is I get it.
Which is also a loan. Same thing.
Okay, fine. You're right. Absolutely correct. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now you can introduce me.
So, like Kelly said, we met a few years ago through the mortgage industry. And if you haven't seen it already, or if you don't know Kelly, Kelly's probably one of the most exciting people you'll meet, one of the most creative people you'll meet, one of the most driven people you'll meet. And through all of this that I just mentioned, this wonderful recipe, that recipe can only lead to success. And so, in my opinion, what you've built, Kelly, and for those of you that don't know, you've built a system that really does all the legwork for people so that people can just focus on being people and not have to try to compete with a computer and discovering what to say, when to say, how to say it, when to shoot out a message, when not to shoot out a message, what happens when there's an event that makes sense to communicate about, instead of trying to, fumble through words and see if you can come up with the exact right thing to say. There's a system, it's called Intent, and you'll find out very quickly as to why it's so brilliant. So there's a system that will help you do that. And Kelly is the mastermind behind it. So that is Kelly. And she knows no stranger, by the way. You will know that too if you ever meet her in person.
You're the same way. I mean, you and I swear to God, I think are pretty much well known in the mortgage.
They cut it in half. Yeah.
I just don't get them together. Yeah. It's gonna be fine.
Yes.
Your introduction was much better than mine. I have to put that out there. But you said,
I may have practiced it. I don't know. I may have practiced it a few times. I didn't know we were going to be doing this, but I feel like I've practiced introducing you.
Well, we probably have, because we probably introduced each other a lot. But to your point about what goes on sort of in mortgage origination, especially this year, loan officers genuinely don't have the time and capacity to constantly be coming up with communication strategies or keeping their eye on every single opportunity that exists, because there's so many refinances right now. There's so much, they're so underwater with that. But that's kind of the key for what you and I do together, right? Yes. You allow me all the intelligence of knowing, for example, somebody comes and they have a credit score that's too low. We put them into our automatic credit improvement campaign, but you monitor when their credit score hits the threshold where the loan officer can move forward with them. And you, instead of telling the loan officer, though you do tell a loan officer, you tell our system, and our system acts on its behalf. And that, to me, the not having to complicate the loan officer's life, and instead giving them leads that are ready to roll, that to me is the name of the game.
Yeah. I mean, that is, and you give our system legs and a voice, right? Our system is the intelligence behind the borrower behavior and events that lenders have to know about. But since not all lenders are created equal and not all loan officers are created equal, why not level the playing field with world-class type of communication and strategy to support this intelligence? You will, with intelligence alone, you will see a lift in your production, period. You will see a lift in referrals. You will see a lift in repeat business. But it's like having a personal trainer. Every professional athlete, believe it or not, has a personal trainer. They do. You may not believe it, but every single professional athlete that reaches the peak of their performance has had a personal trainer at some point and helped them reach that peak. That is what intent is like. It turns everyone into a peak performer. Now you're going to have people who tweak it because they're extra special and they want to do something that's different. But everyone starts at this high level. So you got this world-class intelligence, world-class communication system. You marry the two and you have something beautiful.
You know, I think that's one of the things that always bothered me about kind of being thrown into the CRM bucket, right? CRMs for most mortgage professionals is just somewhere they store their database. And then maybe if they're lucky, it kicks out milestone updates for them in a timely manner. And we're always put in that bucket, even though, because we have a CRM system that's locked into it, about 25% of what we do. And if you ask me the most important things we do, it'd be things like what you and I do combined, right? Taking a lead, understanding what that lead needs, and then looking for all the opportunities throughout that relationship. And it's not just a relationship for the next 60 days, it's a relationship for the next 60 years.
Exactly
and
right.
That's what people don't grasp. How many different things are going to happen to this lead? If their credit's not ready, we're going to tell them when it's ready. We're going to help them get it to where it needs to be. So they're going to buy their first home. Maybe they need to refinance so they can get out of paying PMI. That's maybe 2 years away. This person already knows that you are taking exceptional care of them and telling them and educating them on everything that they need to know. So basically, you're just looking out for these people, right? You're looking at them and saying, good news, you can drop PMI. It's going to be fantastic. Or 4 years from then, when they sell their house and they put it on the market and Sales Boomerang says, hey, guess what, intent, this person putting their house on the market. Now that the loan officer doesn't know that they're putting their house on the market, but you do. And we've already reached out to them and said, we would love to give you a pre-approval for your next home. And a loan officer has nothing to do with any of that. They just take those opportunities
and possibly grab the realtor involved too and be like, hey, we can do your next loan. And by the way, the original realtor that was involved, they know too. Now they're part of it. Now they may not get the house because this person listed, but 15% of listings are for sale by owner. So on 15% of opportunities, the realtor that was involved with you the first time around has a chance to double dip, right? Which is all they wish for. And with the automation that you offer, you're able to then grab and say, hey, who else is involved? And let's get them a message too. And to your point too, Kelly, it's like, even though I know somebody to list their home for sale, how do I start a conversation? What do I say? What's the best approach, right? A lot of people don't know what that is. And that's where you come in and give them a starting point that's proven, right? It's not a guess. That this is proven. The magic that you've done for one of the biggest lenders in the world, definitely in the country, has proved that. So I think it's really unique.
Well, our approach to data intelligence and truly the correct approach to data intelligence is not making it feel strange that you already have information. And when you have such a good relationship with someone who you're adding value to their life, then data doesn't seem strange to have. It just means that you are always looking out for the best interest of your borrower. And that's kind of the key to start that messaging so early in your communication with them. Just, I'm always going to be looking out for your best interest. We have incredible technology that allows us to do that. And you can consider me your mortgage planner for the rest of your life.
Well,
I think go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting, Kelly, because look, if you looked at the car industry, and this industry, by the way, which is one of the most innovative industries in the history of the world, it really is. You've had this sort of model for so many years that a manufacturer is going to manufacture a car. Then there's going to be a dealer that's going to buy those cars, put them on their lot. Then they're going to sell them to someone that comes visits their lot. And then that person is going to come back to the lot again to possibly get service or to get the next car. Then you have somebody like Elon Musk that says, yeah, but is that the best way, but is that the only way? And I dare to say it's not. I'm not going to have dealerships, not the way you expect them to. And we're not going to fix your car the way you expect it to either. It's going to fix itself in the garage while you're sleeping. And people were like, yeah, that's science fiction. And now it's come to life, and now it's the only way people want to do business.
Oh yeah.
So now every single car manufacturer which questioned this concept is now trying to figure out how to do it themselves, period. They've become the number one selling car for a reason, right? They just surpassed Mercedes this year in sales in the United States. Come on, who would have thought that? Mercedes, right? And they've done it so quickly. How long has Mercedes been around? How long has Tesla been around, right? Yeah, you're talking about, I mean, it's a 100-year-old company, right? And so the reason I bring this up is your approach is something that will be the approach moving forward. It's just people have to get on track, and the ones that know. Same thing really about Sales Boomerang. I mean, it is, borrower intelligence is a part of doing business in the mortgage industry. Just not everyone has adopted the concept yet.
You're so correct. And you know, I think that's one of, and you and I are just have this in general, right? Which is when you have visionary thinking, you're usually about 3 to 5 years ahead of where you need to be. It's very hard to try and convince people that you really have the tools to make this available today, because so often people, mortgage people right now have so much tech fatigue, they don't even know what to do with it, right?
That's right.
And every single email they get is like, oh, COVID caused us to have to, move all of this online. Now we have this and this and this and this, and there's all these things. And at the end of the day, the only thing that loan originators really care about is, are my people taken care of? Is this going to be a fantastic, experience for this borrower? And is this borrower going to be an advocate for me to other people to use me and use me again and again throughout their life? And those kinds of, that kind of strategy is not typically seen. In my opinion, and certainly in my experience, is that you have most people who are just they have enough influx of business, but they don't realize how rich they are in data.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That not only, so, we start to implement, and I agree with 100%, called RODA. ROD stands for return on database. Now, basis asset. This is crazy. Done this math? You might not have. I've done this, and it's stupid how much. A lender cost to do a loan for a lender. The cost, $6,000 to $8,000. That's what it costs to do a loan. Okay. And if you have 10,000 people in your database, it's simple math. Let's do the middle, 7,000 instead of 6 or 8. Let's do right in the middle, 7,000. You just have 10,000 people in your database that you've done business with. You spent $70 million to acquire that database. And then what do you do with it?
Nothing.
Nothing. You do nothing with it. Nothing. You treat everyone the same for every reason. Everyone gets, you ever seen the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding or whatever it's called? Where the guy puts Windex on everything?
Oh, yeah.
Everything. Windex is, right? Okay. So that's what people's databases are. It's Windex. They're like, everyone gets the same message all the time. Doesn't matter what you do, when you do, how you do, you all get the same message. It solves everything.
Yeah.
Well, that means you have a depreciating asset. So what we believe, RODA, return on database assets, is we make it an appreciating asset. Every time you put somebody in your database, you're literally planting a seed for the next loan. And it will happen. 99%, 99.9%, if I dare say, 99.9% of every single loan that exists will be refied. Okay, or sold, period. And the person will need to refi or sell, right? It only until you get to your final home, to your final destination, to your forever home, does that end. And on average, there are 11 mortgage-related transactions. Can you hear me okay? I feel like something's changed with
it went a little like mechanic, like a little robot for a minute, but I think it's better now.
No, I lost you. My silly
computer. Say something now.
Hi.
No, it's gone. Where'd it go? Here we go. How about now?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Sorry for this recording. I apologize. It's
you turn your depreciating asset into appreciating asset by implementing things like you do and implementing things that we do, so that when you're spending that $6,000 to $8,000, it's not like, all right, well, we spent it, let's cross our fingers, and 15% of the time we'll get that person back, right? We and you aim to do the same thing. We want 85% of the time for them to come back, and the 15% are just moving out of state, right, that you're licensed in, which, by the way, that you still call you the lender and say, hey, who should I talk to, right? Introduce you, right? So they're moving out of state. This is their final home. This is their forever home, whatever it is. That's the 15%. Other than that, 85% of every customer you work with should be coming back to you for the next loan, or at least a conversation about the next loan. Not hoping they come back, but they already know that they're coming back to you because you've done the things that we're talking about. This communication, this tracking, and you don't hide behind it. Oh, you know what we heard, Kelly, for the longest time? Oh my goodness, Alex, wait a second. This is Big Brother. How can I do this? What am I have to lie to my borrowers. I have to tell them I just sort of guessed. Whatever makes you sleep better at night. But let me tell you something. What we're doing, what you're offering your borrowers, is actually expected by you to them. Try to go to a carry-out restaurant that doesn't have Uber Eats, Grubhub, or one of those that say they'll deliver for it. Call and say, hey, can I use one of my systems? They're like, nope, you got to call and use our delivery. They're going to be like, I'm not ordering food from you. I expect to be able to use this to get what I want. And if I don't get that, you don't get my business.
Well, I mean, it's
right now.
For the last 12 years when I've been talking to people about retargeted marketing, and nobody ever really understood what that was. The closest people come to understanding retargeting is like, I'll say to them, okay, you've been to Pottery Barn and put a rug in your cart, and then that rug shows up across all your social media platforms. They're like, oh yeah, I hate that. I get that. I get that that feels strange to you, but the reality is, like, the difference between the reality of the world we live in and what people kind of want it to be are two different things. And of course, we all harken back to a time of, I'm not really sure what, but I don't. Because here's what I do. I put a pair of shoes in my Nordstrom bag and I forget they're there. And then Nordstrom goes, didn't you mean to buy those boots? And I'm like, yes, I did.
Yep.
That's what I want. I would actually rather Amazon said, you know what? She buys toilet paper every 4 weeks at this thing. Would you like me to automatically do that for you? Yes.
Yes.
I want my life to be automated, especially when it comes to things like my finances. If I don't pay my credit card bill, I want my credit card to say, hey, we noticed you always pay 2 days ahead. It's 1 day ahead. You didn't pay. This is your reminder. Why is that a problem?
It's not.
That's exactly what I want things to do. But I think that people think that having, which, by the way, what you do really, when like people who are now starting to watch the movie The Social Dilemma and things like that, and they're like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, no, not oh my gosh, this has been going on. Every single move you make is tracked. We're not talking about that kind of data. We're talking about what is somebody going to do that they're going to need your help with, and how are you able to look out for those times of help and offer it up. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love asking this question. I'm going to ask you, what are 3 things that you wish people understood about Sales Boomerang that are kind of your top 3 things that could change their life, kind of things?
It's a great question. First of all, it's important that they understand that this is evolutionary. This is not some sort of alien type of process where it's like completely brand new. We had no clue this was available or this was coming. Sales Boomerang is designed and built off of the evolution of the mortgage industry. And it's designed to just fit right in to the timeline, right? And so that's very important, because this is not something that is hard to understand, hard to adopt. We have 80% adoption within 90 days. That's the average. Like, that's crazy. Or it's not. I'm sorry to say that. It's not crazy. It's the norm here. But for the lending industry, it seemed to have been crazy. And the reason it's so adoptable is because of the evolution. So the number one thing to understand is it's completely evolutionary. It does not get in the way of anything anyone does in your company at all, ever. Never. If people don't care about their customers in their database, then we're definitely not for them. And that's okay. And you might be like, Alex, nobody like that exists. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I've spoken to people that literally say, I just want better leads. Well, then we're not a system for you.
Yeah.
Because we don't sell leads. It's your own customers. We're just telling you about them. That's it, right? So the number one thing is understanding that it's an evolution, and it's not something that takes time to learn, not something that's disruptive to the business. It is just simply weaved into the fabric of time of this industry. That's it. That's number one. Number two is what we just talked about. Is that this is not Big Brother. This is not invasion of people's lives. It is in support of freedom. It is in support of creating time and space to do the things that you enjoy to do more, instead of the things that you're like, I love my job, but this part I hate. I love getting a new house or doing a mortgage because I get to, improve my financial vehicle, but I hate blank, 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 right? This is just helping all of those things that people don't like to start feeling more open to them, to start feeling a little bit more excited about the process. One of our beliefs, and I'm wearing a shirt that says love on it, right? And so one of our beliefs is that to make borrowers fall in love with the lending industry, we have to make lenders fall in love with the lending industry, because the statement of you can only love someone as much as you love yourself is a fact. It's an absolute fact. So if you don't love what you do, then the experience your borrowers are going to get are going to be that. But if you just love what you do a little bit more every single day, every single time a new technology comes out and helps you do your job better, easier, more efficiently, gives you a couple hours back so you can go home and spend time with your family, oh, let's celebrate that, right? Let's not fight it. So the number two thing to understand is that this is just, it's not an invasion. It is truly in support of what we are now expecting from the world around us. Simplicity, ease. Somebody knows what I need better than I know that I need it, just like you talked about. Thank you for telling me that. By the way, if I never see another ad for lipstick again, it will be too soon. So thank you for following me around with the things I care about and not the things somebody else cares about. It's very important. Which, by the way, that is the basis of Sales Boomerang. We don't care about the world at large, but we care about lenders and their customers and people in their database. This finite group of people, that's all we care about. We want the lender to know everything that's happening to them, and the borrower should know that the lenders know so they can help them faster and easier and not miss an opportunity. The fact that in 2019, $1.5 billion a month was an overpayment of people who forgot or could not refinance because nobody knew that they could take advantage of rates. $1.5 billion a month was being paid into the banks. That was too much because they could have refinanced. And we don't want to be in that place again. We want people to be exactly where they can take advantage of their current financial situation. So number one and two, I know you didn't expect such a long-winded answer for everything. And number three, I would say, number three thing that I want people to understand about Sales Boomerang is I want them to be open to the concept of experiencing the lending industry in a way that they didn't think was even possible for this industry. And here's what I mean by that. Being open to something different, but still supporting the evolution of this industry. That is the ability to schedule the next loan with your borrower upfront. Literally scheduling that. I want them to know that that is what we're working on, and that is something they should be open to and invite us into their world so we can create that specifically for their brand and for their loan products. And so that for the rest of their lives and for the rest of the borrower's lives in their database, everyone will know what the next best loan is for them upfront together. It's scheduled up ahead of time. And like a wonderful destination app like Waze or Google Maps, the moment there's an accident, you get rerouted to get to your destination easier and faster. Same thing here. If something changes in the mortgage industry, we will reroute and set up a new destination for the next loan because this is not available or it's not the best option. That is what I want people to be open to when they work with us.
Well, you make such a good point because, I mean, that's the one thing that, 2020 has obviously been such a crazy time for all of us, right? But there are going to be people, as you know, who are going to need to have a game plan for the next 5 years when it comes to home ownership, right? People who
Yes.
lost their jobs, people who had to file for bankruptcy, whatever that happens to be. I think what you and I struggle to really, really convey is that the model of I'm a loan officer, I've got 10 really good realtors who refer me business, I'm really nice to them, and I sponsor their broker lunches, and they send me people who are sometimes qualified, sometimes not, and I get the people qualified who are, and then we move on to the next referral. That model, sure, you can stick with that model, or you have an entire database rich with opportunities that you can give to your realtor. And that's what's so hard. You had like the lead model came in, right? And so everyone's like, okay, buy leads, buy leads, buy leads, until they figured out that, oh, hey, by the way, that's being sold to so many other people. And we have people who come to us who have a $10,000 a month Zillow budget. And I'm like, for half
100,000.
I'll give you, well, oh, I mean, bigger branches, sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Low. And you're like, for half of that money, I'll give you twice as many loans. And they're like, oh, no, in a second, because you don't realize how much value is in your own database. In fact, this has probably been 6-7 weeks ago, we had a customer, and she sent her a thing, and I said, hey, listen, you use Sales Boomerangs, you use us, you can market to your database for refis. Would you like us to just send out a little push for you? She left $1.8 million in 24 hours on one email based on the data we had. I said, do you want me to push anymore? And she's like, hold up a minute. And that's the thing, people, like, when you have a company that is actively looking at your database for those opportunities for you, you tee them up instead of you constantly pushing money out. And that's what
the truth is, you need both, right? The truth is, you need both. You need people coming in. You want to keep feeding it,
for sure.
But it's the difference between thinking about your business as a hunter versus thinking about it as a farmer, right?
Yeah.
You're able to buy more cattle, you're able to buy more chickens, bring them in, but then farm them, right? Don't just chop them up and throw them out. It's like, okay, I bought this lead, now what? I bought this opportunity, now what? And so you may then, using your system, start to get really specific and say, you know what? I know I'm going to have this farming system that's going to generate this much for me this year because I know that's what happens. I'm going to choose more wisely what I buy to bring in. I want to choose the best cattle, the best chickens, right? The best pit. Like, I don't want every one of them. I'm going to be more specific. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to spend a little more because I know these people that I spend a little more on, they convert faster and easier. But instead of spending $10,000 and knowing that 90% of those aren't going to be ones you close, which is not an unusual number, by the way, 10%, right? 90% of them being unclosable or some things I don't fit with. You spend $10,000 and focus on 50% of them that are going to close, and then you're going to farm that 50% for the rest of your life. It's a lifetime worth of business in your database all day long.
All day long. And that you and I obviously can talk about philosophy in mortgage marketing and lead gen and all of it for hours because it's what we spent so many years doing. But it is fascinating to me to watch sort of how this industry is changing somewhat, and yet to me seems like I am a huge believer in having a great realtor squad where they all know one another, you all work together, you all have this. But I'm also a fan of we were always stuck in the funnel model, right? 100 in, 50 maybe, 25 possibly, 5 yes, like whatever that is.
Yes.
The thing that we try and explain to all of our customers is very simple. If a name is in your database, that person is part of flywheel marketing from now on. And if you're not familiar with flywheel marketing, for the people who are watching, it's that person has nothing but opportunity in front of them to be an advocate for your brand, to be wowed by your service, to be in your network. That person, whether they're a realtor, a CPA, a financial advisor you work for, whether they're somebody you go to church with who you don't even really know that well, whatever that is, your database is a goldmine of opportunity moving forward. And you're the kind of company that monitors that to make sure that those opportunities exist. And my job is to be artistic in the way that you're in a relationship with those human beings and setting expectations for you reaching out with that intelligence for the rest of their life.
I love it.
So.
It's the most poetic and most accurate description of our relationship.
It really is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why, so I have a couple of personal questions for you, because we obviously can go on and on and on about business forever. So,
about a lot of things. You and I could probably talk and literally watch the sun come up and come down.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And the funny thing I think about us is that we're interested no matter what the other person's doing and doing what that person's doing. We're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You want to start a farm? Okay, what kind of farm?
Let's go.
You don't really meet people who are so aligned with you for where you see something heading. I mean, in fact, I spend a lot more time trying to convince people that something is happening than actually sort of implementing those changes for them. But once they're in, then they're thrilled. What would you say? So, two questions. How has this year sort of changed your vision for the future, and what would you say is your biggest personal win for 2020?
So how has this, when you say this, how has the current market environment?
I would say, how has 2020 changed your vision for the future of Sales Boomerang?
Yeah. It only showed us the headwind that we can face sometimes in the industry, and nothing more. Our vision, our purpose is the same as it always has been. No borrower left behind. However, we ran into something that we never thought we could run into. We ran into a headwind, which was, hey, we're too busy.
Yeah.
We have way too much going on that we never expected would be a reason why somebody lengthens the time in which they make a decision to turn Sales Boomerang on.
Oh, yeah.
The number of interested people never stopped. I mean, we have a backlog that's insane. We're having an amazing year. We signed, I think, more than 40 new enterprise accounts this year already.
Awesome.
And so it's only lengthened the decision-making process, but we never knew that there'd be a time where people are like, we're doing too well and we don't need any more volume. And what that did for us, Kelly, is it made us just sort of understand where we should be. And so what we learned from this is there's going to be moments in time where we have to be creative and flexible to create something that the industry needs today for today, and maybe or maybe not need it again in the future. So what we did in this 2020 period is we created the EPO prevention alert, because EPOs are on such a rise, because 7-8 rate drops in 1 year. It's the first time and maybe only time this will happen. And so the EPOs were through the roof. I took a loan in May. I was ready to do one in August, right? That's it. And then just EPOs just kept. So what we learned is we need to understand where the industry is and not focus, and this did help us refocus that we're not just about volume driving, we're about prioritization and efficiencies. So that is somewhere where I think we had a big lesson and we learned from it, that it's not just about driving volume from your database, it's also giving your team the ability to efficiently choose the most, maybe most profitable, maybe most prioritized loan,
right,
rather than all at once. Because right now, people have 20 people standing at their door and they're like, we want to talk to all of you, so start talking. Oh, I'll talk to you faster, but I have to listen to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And why not have a system that filters that and says, here are the 3 you need to talk to right now, and then here are the rest, right? And so that's where we sort of were able to shift our focus a little bit and talk about prioritization and efficiencies and eliminate wasted conversations with people that aren't qualified or aren't ready to do something now, even though they want to, because the rates are low and everyone's doing it. So I would say that's the biggest lesson, and that's sort of the thing that we learned from this year.
And what would you say is your biggest personal win for the year?
Personal biggest win for the year. My personal biggest win within Sales Boomerang is having such an amazing team that I can step back and watch them carry this idea of Sales Boomerang into the future with their own beliefs behind it, not my beliefs, right? They're powered by and maybe fueled by my beliefs, but it's their own convictions. And that personal win, that was hiring top-notch talent from across the country and being willing to invest in them, to invest into the company. And I think that's been my own personal win, because now my focus is on leadership with my leadership team and not leading the entire company, right? that's happening within leaders within the company itself. And so that would be my own personal big one. And look, let me get vulnerable for a minute. So there was a moment in time in this year that I felt useless. That's how strong our team is. I'm like, what can I add when we have the most brilliant people in every position? Like, what am I doing here? And it took weeks of really self-assessment to understand that my role just evolved, right? It's now something different. And that is to be the sounding board for the leaders and to be someone that pushes them and drives them. And it's not that I have to get hands-on on every campaign, every conversation, every, negotiation. Now I can just be a mirror, a reflection for the leadership team and help them develop. So
that's awesome. I mean, but that's the goal of every entrepreneur, right? You're by yourself, you're working your tail off, you can barely sleep or breathe for it. And then you hire like one or two people to help you. And then it's just the three of you running around chasing your tails. And then you're suddenly like, okay, we can put the right people in the right places so that I can actually sleep a 5-6 hour night.
Did you know that was a gene in your body? Did you know the amount of hours you sleep is just one gene?
I do.
Isn't that interesting?
Only because I am a pretty 6 hour a night kind of girl. And people are always like, that's not enough. And I'm like, I mean,
it's enough for me.
Well, yeah. I think it's because you and I are the same. And we go that other 18 hours like gangbusters, right? And so most people are like, I got to go to Target today. Like, woof. And I'm like, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I replace even those trips. Instacart now goes to Target for me.
Yeah, true.
So I can do this. So I can do this right here. You know what I mean?
I mean, isn't that sort of a thing too? It's going back to sort of how data intelligence impacts our life and how technology actually does help is, okay, so if Instacart knows that every single week I buy the same 25 items for my house and they just happen to remember that makes my life so much better. I can't.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And look, that's the kind of technology we should all want in our life.
Two of the greatest minds, Kelly, in this, that we had a pleasure, one of them still alive, that we had a pleasure of actually witnessing walk this earth is, and they're not the only ones to do this, but they made it public, Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. They consciously decided they're not going to waste their fucking brain power on choosing what they're going to wear today. They put on the same shirt, same jeans every day, because they realized that the mental power it takes to choose and come up with, and does this look good and try it on, is wasteful. I've adopted this concept 3 or 4 years ago. All my clothes, black V-necks, jeans. You've seen me. That's all I do. Most of them now are branded to Sales Boomerang.
I agree.
But it's just one of those things, right? Hey, it's a step I don't have to use this for. Instacart. I order these 25 things. Thank you. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to order it anyway, but I don't want to be like, do I remember to do it? No, it just arrives. That's where we all should be. And we all want to get there for one simple reason, so we can do more of what we want to do. Period.
I mean, there's no question whatsoever that we are currently an opt-in society, right? You can opt into, like, if I don't want to watch commercials on TV, I don't have to. If I don't want to watch regular programming, I don't have to. If I want to listen to XM in my car, that's what I'm going to do. You can opt into everything. And the more opting in that you can do, you can pay a premium in order to not hear the noise. I mean, we're going to be all heading in that route. I mean, it's just kind of the way that things are. It's not different than where I think the industry will be heading, because there's a certain amount of just horrific mundane tasks that loan officers are asked to do all the time that is way below their pay grade. You don't have to do any of that stuff. That can all just be automated, because at the end of the day, the value in every single successful loan officer I know is their ability to truly humanize and educate someone that is incredibly complicated, and to be able to look at all the pieces in front of them and say, I know that this is going to be the best idea for you. And let me tell you why. You and I had a conversation. I know where you want to go, and I know why you're buying this place. This is the right idea for you. Now, that conversation should be what they're doing all day long, right? And they should be meaningful conversations with warm leads, where they have all the data in front of them that they need to have a really constructive conversation and hand that file off. And these kinds of meetings, these little back and forths, this is what people should be doing with their customers all the time. Tell me about you. Tell me what
Yes.
you're looking to do in life. You know,
Yeah.
how can I help you to get into the right mortgage for the right needs so that you have a dream
Yes.
home for now and a dream home forever that you can afford?
It's exactly right. And this is where so many loan officers make a mistake. And Kelly, I mean, you're nailing it. The mistake is when you ask a loan officer, what do you do for a living? They'll tell you they sell loans. But that's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to guide. That's all. They're not selling shit. A borrower chooses to make a decision based on your guidance. That's it. You can't force you can't even sell a loan if you wanted to, if nobody's there that needs it.
Right.
Right? That's it. And so you are, as a loan officer, you're just a guide, right? You're just saying, hey, this is the path you can take, and this is where you'll end up. And after you end up here, it's not your final destination. There will be other paths to take. They can split into three. Because you're a first-time home buyer, my recommendation is the first-time home buyer program. Here are the benefits. How do you feel about that? Does this match your goals? Let's identify. You said you wanted to do this. This will help you accomplish that. Yes or no? Yes, great. Let's move forward. That's what you're doing. Or you're selling, which is like, so did you speak to anybody else about rates? What kind of rate do you want? What kind of rate do you got? Okay, I can beat that rate. What if I cut my fee? Okay, great. I'll cut my fee. Done.
Yeah.
That's what happens, and you don't have anyone that wants to work with you again because they're like, hey, this guy's just 1 in a million, and I'll work with the next guy the next time.
Well, and I know that, you know, I even take a little bit of grief on it a bit because, you know, my goal is to tee up those people to know every single thing they could possibly need to know, right? So we have like multiple first-time homebuyer campaigns, depending on the kind of first-time homebuyer you have, because there are,
Exactly.
It's insane to me that companies have a homebuyer campaign. I have 36 homebuyer campaigns. Why? Because there's 3 different kinds of first-time homebuyers. Okay, there's so many different customer journeys that have to be acknowledged and really curated by a system that knows what it's doing. But by the time they get to the loan officer, like truly get to the loan officer, they've applied, they understand, we're going to have a conversation really about what we're going to do. That relationship should already exist. That person should have been guided the whole way. And then during that loan, obviously what we do that's entirely different than other CRMs is that our goal is to make sure they understand every nuance of what's happening, right? So people will send out a thing like, oh, your appraisal was ordered. Well, hi, I'm a first-time homebuyer. What is that?
I don't even know what that means.
Right. Well, here's what an appraiser does. Here's what you can expect them to do. Here's how to read the report. Here's what the expectation should be. Here's what to do, X, Y, Z, all those things. All those pivots exist and educate that person from the time that you meet them and you put them on the first-time homebuyer campaign where you're talking to them about all the things that they need throughout their entire life. That's how we talk to them. That's why the open rate's so high on post-close is because you've built something that is so deeply personal. You know, personalized marketing. And to your point from the beginning of this, if you shoot an email out to your entire database and it is tone deaf, they're going to unsubscribe.
Yep.
And if that's what you're doing, please stop doing it today because you're ruining, you know, think of your database as your retirement fund. Think of it as your lifeline, especially in the next 10 years. What you build inside that database is your money. And how you treat those human beings and curate those relationships is everything moving forward.
Yeah, see, I see you, Kelly. I think you've come up with a new phrase here. You're a communication curator. Really, that's what you do.
It's true. It's not untrue.
It is, yeah, and you're not a CRM. There's a CRM aspect to your business, as you've mentioned, but you're not. You're really focused on communication and understanding that it constantly has to evolve. I know, like you said, hey, I have one email for first-time homebuyers. That email's probably been there for that person for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And so not only is it one for all, which is, you know, just going to have the results that you've been getting, and you know what those results are, whoever's listening to this that does that, versus something that constantly evolves. I've heard you talk about this for years. And every time we talk, you tell me how something brand new, some new channel, some new messaging, some changes, some updates, 2 campaigns that others would have had sitting in the box going, that's a great campaign. I've had it for 6 years. Was there even a digital signing 6 years ago? Like, was there a POS 6 years ago? Why are you still sending that out? You know what I mean? You know,
For me too, and the other piece of it that is sort of interesting to me is that you'll have a company that adopts 6 different pieces of tech, right? I know walking in the door for a client, if they have this POS and they're using Sales Boomerang and this, I can literally automate every single thing that they do and make it all have the same branding and same messaging. And that is the thing that also makes me crazy is if they're using a mobile app for application that's sending them things. Then they're using a home search thing that's sending them emails. And then they have their own CRM sending them emails. And they're all discombobulated, disjointed. They don't have the right branding. They don't have the right message. And that streamlining is honestly probably one of the most important things that people need to look toward. How is my process streamlined, and how is my customer journey? What does it look like? If you're my home buyer, Alex, and you're talking to me for the first time, and I send you 12 different emails over the next 4 days with all these different things to download and all these different, it's confusing.
Yes.
And I don't think that that is appreciated enough. How really integrating systems and streamlining messages is also critically important.
It's so important. I mean, look, again, we could actually do an entire hour on integrating systems properly.
But don't you think that that's such
Yes.
like I know, like obviously what we do aside, you know, when now you're starting to really see so much tech adoption, and the tech departments at mortgage companies are trying to basically just get that job done, right? And sales is disjointed from tech, which is disjointed from marketing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But you can't have that. You literally can't.
Some of the best companies in the country, some of the best lenders in this country are not disjointed. You've seen them. They're going public.
Okay.
Okay. They're the ones that are not disjointed. They're the ones that are not going, you do your thing, you do your thing. No. You know what they did? They sat down and they've done what you are doing on a mass scale for themselves.
100%.
Every single one of these companies going public has done what you're doing, and they've done it for themselves because they know it's important. And what you're doing is you're bringing it to a mass scale, very similar to sort of our approach. Big lenders, big companies have tried to do what we're doing, and have done an okay job doing it for the most part. The big ones, the ones that have invested money, we've just brought it to a mass scale, right? Yeah. And it truly is. It's not like you are not guessing that this works. There's no guess in what you're doing. You know it works. The question is, how much do you want to dial it up or down? That's the only question. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You brought that up, by the way, because your struggle for 2020 is also our struggle for 2020, which is we are on like, I wouldn't say that we're on hold, but there's no pushing, right?
Yeah.
People have more business than they know what to do with right now based on those, based on these relationships they've curated over the years and how we've done their marketing. So there's not a question who's they're going to refi with. So I don't want to say everyone, that's such a blanket statement, but almost all of our clients are like, okay, no more. And I'm like,
yeah, slow it down.
I can't slow it down. It doesn't quite work that way. But it's nice because then you have the ability to tee it up when it's time, right?
Yeah. Now it's an interesting thing. I think most people in our industry that are on this side of the industry would say they've heard that message. I know personally, I've spoken to probably 10 CEOs of other technology companies. They've all said the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's okay because that's what's going on.
But I kind of think it's such a compliment to what we do. And yet it's such a strange piece of feedback, right? Because everything is like more. And what I really want to tell people is this is the time to cut the lead buying right now. Like, you know what I mean? That's really what you want to do is not be throwing.
And they have big time.
And then, so what you need to do is take that money, bank that. And then now that we're into the fall, and not that rates are going to go up. I mean, I don't really think that that's in the mail. I mean, it's going to right itself at some point, but
sure.
This is the time of year where, home purchases kind of fall off a little. And, this is the time of year to really start thinking about who do I want to be in 2021? How am I going to show up in this industry? What's going to differentiate me from every other broker, every other loan officer? What really makes me different? My team, and if you hear somebody pitch it, right, you can give them their elevator speech. My team is different because we give exceptional service and communication and our clients are number one. Well, that's the same elevator speech I just heard. What I genuinely want you to sell is you are going to feel completely confident that our team knows everything that we need to do to protect your financial health from now on when it comes to your mortgage.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah,
That
like,
trust and that confidence is all we need to focus on building.
yeah.
That's it.
All right, friend, well, listen, I just don't know how I can love and respect anybody more. I just don't.
Oh, thank you.
Nothing,
Right back at you.
it's been nothing short of so amazing to be able to find a partner who really sees our vision. And I think we've always seen your vision, and we share such interesting and fantastic customers now. And you know, I think I told you the other day, I don't even want anyone to use our system that's not using yours, because I'm always like, right, but I can do so much more if I just have tools. Can I just have tools? That's actually an amazing part. So Alex from Sales Boomerang, thank you so much for hanging out with us a little bit today and talking to us about.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks.